Hello, everyone. Well, we are back focusing on women in mid-age and what they go through. Today's topic is perimenopause. Most of the women don't even understand what this is and if they're going through it or not, what kind of symptoms they should look at if they're going through perimenopause or not. So that's why we have Emily. Emily is founder of Peri-Menopause Hub from UK. She specializes on women, trying to help them navigate this journey and also trying to help them understand if they are in perimenopause or not. Thank you so much, Emily, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So let's just start with basics. What exactly is perimenopause? How long it's going to last for women? It's pretty scary out there. And how do women, they are going through perimenopause? Because the scary part is some women can start in late 30s, which is really scary. So we need to understand that.
Okay, let me start with the very beginning. So perimenopause is the time leading up to menopause. Menopause is defined as when a woman has gone one whole year without a period and her periods therefore have stopped. Perimenopause is the time before that, when everything is just weird. So let me just start at the beginning. So obviously your periods start and you have puberty and all that. Then you have this kind of fairly stable time when you have your standard cycle. Many women obviously have children in this time, and then you'll start to notice that things are changing. Now, this is where it gets a bit, tricky to know quite where the line is. But for a lot of people, although the obvious thing would be that your periods are changing and, you would expect that they might be getting lighter, they might be getting less, because obviously you're ultimately leading up to the end of them. For a lot of people, their periods don't start changing as early as other symptoms start. And for a lot of women, once their periods do start changing, they might get closer together, they might get heavier, they might get longer before they ultimately get shorter and less. So I definitely believed, before I learned all about perimenopause, that menopause was a few hot flushes. I'd be in my 50s, fine, didn't need to worry about it before that. And there I was at 39, suddenly no energy, angry. Oh my goodness, the rage. I can't tell you how angry I was. Periods were a bit strange, but they weren't that weird. I was gaining weight. I was crying at just nothing. And I simply didn't know what was going on. I did not understand what was wrong. And that's really, really common. And the thing is, the perception out there is that the menopause symptoms, which are the hot flushes and things like that, that's all of it. But actually, at the start of perimenopause, our progesterone, or throughout perimenopause, our progesterone drops fairly stable, in a fairly stable sort of a way, whilst our estrogen does all sorts of crazy stuff. So that can mean that your symptoms come and go, that you have phases of different symptoms. A lot of women very early in perimenopause find that they suddenly experience anxiety in a way that they never had, which is a sign of the progesterone dropping. But because the main focus seems to be on the estrogen, we don't necessarily look at the progesterone side of it. Anyway, I'm going too deep. Perimenopause can last up to about 10 years. The average is about 4 years, but I'm going to suggest that average is a little bit optimistic, because I think a lot of people don't know that they've started perimenopause. So I think the numbers aren't quite necessarily quite right. The average age to reach menopause, so to have gone a year without periods, is 51. So if we just do the basic maths, 51 is the average age. So obviously that stands to reason there will be some women at 55 who finish their periods, others at 45 or 46 who finish, because the nature of averages. Then we add on this 10 years, and suddenly actually late 30s to start perimenopause isn't particularly odd, isn't particularly unusual. And yet a lot of women, and I had this experience myself, get dismissed for being too young because they're not approaching 50, so it can't possibly be that, which is very difficult. So I'm all about helping people to get to know their own body and advocate for themselves, because the more we can really say, look, this is what's happening, rather than, I don't know, I feel a bit weird now. And I say this from personal experience. I went to the doctor a lot of times, went, I've got this list of things, they're not right. Well, and funnily enough, the doctor isn't a mind reader, and so they couldn't necessarily help me particularly. They go, yes, okay, well, we can treat these symptoms, but I wasn't giving them enough information for them to see the big picture. So I really strongly recommend to anybody that they track. So identify maybe 4 or 5 things that really matter and are affecting you. So it might be sleep, it might be hunger cravings, it might be fatigue, it might be anxiety, whatever. Find those 5 or 6 things that are really affecting you. Don't worry about what's affecting anybody else, just what's affecting you, and track those on paper, in an app, in a journal, whatever works for you, so that you can start to see what correlation there is, how these things go in a cyclical kind of a fashion. I will just say here, often I get the question from people going, oh, because of my birth control, I don't have a period. How can I track? Just track. Your body is still doing a cycle. It will still show you. You'll still start to see these things. So you might find, so for me, as I said, the rage was, it felt like I was out of control. It felt like I just had no idea where this was coming from. Once I'd been tracking for a while, I could see it was always about 2 days out from my period, or from when my period would be expected to come. And well, armed with that information, I could then go, oh, okay, maybe don't say anything that you're going to regret today. Maybe just sit in a darkened room, keep out of the way. It'll be fine. This will pass. And lo and behold, the next day, I always wake up fine. And the same, when things are hormonal, they are always going in this wonderful cycle. And the more we can understand how that cycle works for us, the more we can sort of be on the front foot and actually anticipate what's coming, rather than always being at the mercy of it happening sort of to us. I think I've gone massively off topic, but I'll let you bring me back on topic.
Sure. No, I think this is great. You know, you talked about estrogen kind of going down, progesterone is also going down, and estrogen is kind of going roller coaster ride, right? So talk to us, these are the other symptoms you talk about, the sleep, anxiety, fatigue, anger, but the emotional part that plays, right? Oh my God. So you want to elaborate a little bit on the emotional part, and some of the other issues too with your partner, right? That could also go into that. So talk to us a little bit about during this phase, and 10 years is a long time. You don't want people breaking off, right, with their partners. So talk to us a little bit on that.
So the emotional side is huge, and actually probably has a bigger impact than the physical side. I think, you know, because people are expecting hot flushes and night sweats and things, they can kind of preempt that. But a lot of people aren't expecting that they're going to suddenly be really tearful, or that they're going to be nervous of things, anxious of things, that they're going to forget their words, that they're going to feel really brain foggy. All the kind of head stuff is, I think, a lot harder to get your head around, because you're not necessarily expecting it. But the emotional side, I mean, I laugh now because I've kind of got myself to a stable place, but I mean, I used to cry. I'm not a particularly angry person or a particularly crying person. Whew, early perimenopause, God, I was all of those things, and it was really scary, just thinking I'm totally out of control of my body. And what I've subsequently learned is that when our hormones are changing and, you know, coming down and doing all this stuff and all the fun stuff, we just have a lot less resilience to stress, and any stress will potentially affect our hormones. So where my reactions felt like they were off the chart, it was actually every time it was my body going, there is too much stress. We need to back this off. And I know it's really easy to say that, yeah, just manage your stress. Cool. And I know that's not easy to do, but I think for all of us, it's the biggest piece of advice that I can give, aside from tracking, which I just always talk about. But if we can find little ways to manage stress, chances are, I'm not going to say this is 100% at all, but chances are we will just be a little bit more stable, and therefore a little bit better able to cope with the different symptoms as they come. Because this is also the problem, because the hormones aren't both changing together in a linear fashion. They're doing this. I don't know how to make my hands do that at the same time. The symptoms change. You know, you won't necessarily at the start of the 10 years, here is your symptom set, there you go, off you go, 10 years time, done. You might start with some anxiety and some sleepless nights and a few other things, and it might then, as you get closer to menopause, you might start getting more of the hot flushes and the heat symptoms. And this is where the more you can sort of tune into your body and go, okay, and give yourself the kindness and the space, again, it sounds really simplistic, I know, to go, okay, that's a new one, right, what's this one about? As opposed to, and I did this at the start, and you know, I'm not for a second saying that this is unusual to do, but going, oh my God, what the hell's happening to me? It's like, okay, no, I'm going to listen to my body. What is happening in me? What is happening? How can I work with me to try and feel a bit better? And when on the really emotional days, that's really difficult, really difficult.
All right. So you mentioned a couple of things. Hot flushes and night sweats, right? And you mentioned that everybody thinks of, when we say menopause, said these are the two things that come to mind. And that's not the only thing. We know that there's so much behind it. So the hot flushes and night sweats, you also mentioned something that becomes the vasomotor symptoms have closer to when you are actually going to be menopause. The menopause is when the periods have stopped, cessation of periods for 1 year. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on, is that happening during that 1 year, or is it happening before that also, right? Because a lot of people get very confused.
It can happen sooner, and it can carry on after your periods have ended. That, I think, is another of these misconceptions that, okay, brilliant, periods have ended, everything's fine. But obviously your body is still getting used to this new state of having lower hormones. So, you know, some women find that they do have the vasomotor symptoms from quite early on in perimenopause, but for some, they only come in really quite late. 25% of women don't even have a hot flash. So this sort of idea out there that this is menopause is end of periods and hot flashes. Well, there's a bit more to it, you know.
Absolutely. It's a very complicated topic, which we cannot cover in 5-7 minutes that we're trying to do here.
I suppose what I always like to say is, you know, we went through puberty, all of us went through puberty, and we had times when we were really angry, when our body was changing, when we didn't understand what was happening. And this is basically, very simplistically, I know, the reverse of that. And actually, I think if we give ourselves the kindness and the space to think, okay, my body does know what it's doing. I don't always trust that mine does, but you know, if we can start to sort of go, okay, it's going to be okay. What can I do today just to support my body to feel a bit better? Rather than, I think if we sit there at the start and think, oh Christ, I've got 10 years of this. Oh my God, I'm never gonna survive this. It's just a hiding to nothing. Whereas, okay, today, how can I help myself? Can I move? Can I get some daylight? Can I drink some water? Can I eat some foods that nourish my body? Can I just do things within my control and then going back to my favorite topic of tracking, have any of those things had a positive impact? Do I feel slightly clearer in my head because I've actually hydrated better? Do I feel slightly more positive because I've been outside? Is my sleep slightly better because I've moved, or whatever? And there are so many things. The more we trust that our body is going to give us little signals back as we do kind things to it, we can start to go, okay, body liked that, I'll do that again. Or, ooh, body didn't like that. I won't do that.
Okay, well, thank you so much. This is a quick 10-minute session. Anything else you want to add? You're welcome to do that. I don't want to cut you off. I mean, we can go on and on for the whole day today.
I can go on for weeks. No, I think I've covered everything. Obviously, if people have more questions and they want to know more, they're very welcome to come and find. My website is perimenopausehub.com, and on Facebook we have Perimenopause Hub Support and Friendship is the main group, and it's a very welcoming place. And I want people to feel better. I want to help people feel good about themselves again. So yeah, if anybody has more questions, come and find me, hop into my DMs, whatever, ask me a question. I'm on Insta, I'm everywhere really. I just haven't done TikTok yet. It's not quite my thing, but
Thank you so much. And that's what we are trying to do, is bring awareness, advocating to all the women out there who are going through it. There's a lot of interesting data which we didn't talk about. Asian women, they specifically Indian women, they reach the menopause age at 46, 47, which is alarming. Yeah. Right? We didn't talk about that. And Asian women, Japanese women, for instance, don't get as much hot flashes as the Western women because they eat a lot of soy. So it's
the soy thing's really interesting, isn't it? Because I see this, a lot of people going, well, if I just start eating loads of soy, it'll be fine. And it's like, well, it sort of needed to have happened the whole way through. You can't suddenly just start cramming it in now. And it is cultural stuff, and inherent dietary differences do have a huge difference.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to say that menopause, perimenopause is different for each and every culture, right?
Each and every woman. Each and every woman.
Yeah, it's not that everyone's going to get the same recipe or same dish here. You're going to get a different dish with a Michelin star restaurant, whatever, right?
Absolutely. And we're all going to get a different variation on it, just as, we're all different, aren't we? It's it stands to reason. There's one thing I did just quickly want to say. I'm very aware of the time, sorry. Getting a diagnosis, I put that in inverted commas because it isn't an illness, so we don't actually get a diagnosis. But if you're wanting to access help for your symptoms, and you might, for example, in the US and in the UK, I have to admit I don't know about in India, for example, but to access things like HRT, we, the individuals, sometimes think that we might want to have a blood test to check that we are in perimenopause, when actually, because, as I've said, the hormones are doing such a roller coaster of stuff, those blood tests are very difficult to use sensibly, because you'd have to be taking them very, very regularly to really see what the changes were. So blood tests are best used to rule out thyroid problems, certain minerals and deficiency issues. And then, as I'm going to mention tracking again, guess what? And then if you've done with the tracking and you can show that there's this cyclical pattern, then your doctor or your practitioner, whoever it is that you're wanting to work with, will be much better able to see that this probably is hormonal because it's going with the cycle. Whereas if it were, let's say, a vitamin D deficiency or a thyroid issue, it would be more likely to be quite a linear thing as opposed to sort of coming and going. So there isn't a sort of a clear-cut blood test that your doctor can just do and life's easy. So yeah, self-advocating and really learning what your body's telling you seems to be just the best way to get that help.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point you brought, because a lot of women want to do Dutch test as a hormone test, and per
Yeah,
hormones are fluctuating every single day. How can you know, like, if today's test is going to be same as
yeah.
1 week from now? And then based on that, that's a huge topic on hormone replacement therapy, which I think we need to do it on another day.
That's another day.
Yes, absolutely. And based on that, women are being prescribed. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just learning when I interview people like you. So that's a completely different topic that we need to talk about one day. Hormone replacement therapy, whether it's good or not good. But for today's session, we wanted to talk about perimenopause and stop here today and look at your body, right? That's the bottom line. That listen to
Yeah,
your body. You are the
yeah,
best judge, right?
yeah.
Just the last line. That's what I understood from you, Emily. Correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let your body just listen. We all have so many external information coming at us, but actually our body knows.
Okay. With that, I'm going to end this session. Stay tuned. We are coming up with a lot of programs helping women navigate this phase with ease using holistic therapy. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Emily, for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.